Das ist genau die richtige Art von passiv-aggressiver Kriegsführung gegen DHL, die ich sehr sympathisch finde. Mega-Lag hieß der Kanal, ne? Achso, hier, da hier. 2,9 Millionen Aufrufe. Das läuft ja bei ihm.
10 weeks ago, I set out to test how well Apple's new AirTags could track parcels being shipped overseas. To test this, I sent 3 AirTags to different locations. One to Tim Cook at Apple, one to Elon Musk at SpaceX, and one to the German embassy in North Korea. After noticing that the North Korean parcel was held up in DHL's Frankfurt facility, I decided to send a second one, this time to a government-run film commission in Pyongyang. If you haven't seen that first video yet, I highly recommend that you do. Now, a lot of exciting things have happened since then. In fact, one of the AirTags was even sent back to me. Now, I haven't opened this parcel yet, but it seems as though there's a letter inside. Also, thanks to the AirTags, I stumbled across what seemed to be some pretty dirty business practices from DHL. So, let's get into it. So let's start with the North Korean parcels. After attempting to send the first AirTag to the German embassy in Pyongyang, the parcel ended up in DHL's logistics facility in Frankfurt Airport and hadn't moved in over 2 weeks. With no updates on the track and trace, I called DHL to figure out what was going on and was told that I would need to open an investigation. Well, after requesting an investigation online, I was told I would only get an answer in about 3 weeks' time, which prompted me to send another AirTag to North Korea. Now, 2 weeks after submitting that investigation, I got this email from DHL. Hello, Jonathan. Unfortunately, your above-mentioned shipment did not arrive at the recipient abroad. In spite of intensive research, we could not find your shipment. So essentially, DHL lost the parcel, did an investigation, and couldn't find it. Now that was hilarious because I could clearly see that the parcel was still sitting in DHL's facility in Frankfurt Airport. Not only that, but I was getting updates on its location every 5 to 10 minutes. Quite ironic that I knew exactly where the parcel was and DHL hadn't a clue, even after their so-called intensive investigation. They then wrote, in order to compensate you for the damage, we need the completed and signed form. Please send us the required information within the next 7 days. I thought, huh? Within the next 7 days? And what if I don't do it within the next 7 days? You're not gonna compensate me? So 8 days later, I sent DHL an email.
Das ist genau die richtige Art von passiv-aggressiver Kriegsführung gegen DHL, die ich sehr sympathisch finde.
Requesting more information on their so-called investigation. I asked them to provide me with the parcel's last known location, how it could have been lost, and to detail which steps they took to locate the parcel. I couldn't wait to hear their response. Now, you'd expect it to be easy to contact DHL after they've lost your parcel. Well, it's not. Their letter was sent from a no-reply email address, and the only contact details they provided was a phone number, which was conveniently located in the small print of their letter. And trying to find an email address on DHL's website is by no means an easy task. Essentially, DHL made contacting them as hard as bloody possible. I hate it when companies do this. Meanwhile, the second AirTag parcel headed for the North Korean Film Commission actually made it out of Frankfurt Airport after having only stayed there for 4 days. So we were back in action. The parcel was driven to a DHL facility in Leipzig Airport. After sitting there for just over a week, I picked up its signal in a really weird location, a wind farm in the town of Landsberg, which is just north of Leipzig Airport. Based on the weird location, I was confident I had picked up the AirTag's location mid-flight again, which is absolutely insane. But I couldn't find any flights that had left Leipzig Airport which matched the time that it was pinged, so I was kind of left scratching my head. A few days later, and I still hadn't received any more pings from that AirTag, which was strange because if it had flown somewhere, it would have arrived at its destination airport already and should have started pinging its location again. I knew it couldn't have gone directly to North Korea because, well, no such direct flight between Germany and North Korea exists, at least not to my knowledge. Now, when I checked DHL's website, I noticed they had provided a track and trace link for Korea Post, which is a South Korean postal service. When clicking on the link, I was given a page error. No surprises there. But it got me thinking, did DHL send my parcel to the wrong Korea? I thought, surely no logistics company can be that stupid. Well, after sharing the screenshot on my YouTube community page, one of you brilliant souls managed to figure out which flight the AirTag had taken and shared the flight number with me. And sure enough, the damn thing was sent to South Korea. The wrong Korea. Check this out. Look how accurate the AirTag's location info was when compared to the flight radar information. It's literally pinpoint accurate and matches the time the plane flew over this location. So cool. What I find truly fascinating about the AirTags is how much plausible information you can deduce from one AirTag ping. In this example, we were able to figure out that the AirTag was on a cargo flight. This flight was at 6,000 feet at the time of the ping. Given it was a cargo flight, it's likely only 2 pilots were on board the plane, meaning one of those 2 pilots had to have an iPhone, which communicated with the AirTag. And that iPhone had to have an internet connection, so it was likely still connected to a cell tower at 6,000 feet. And perhaps most ironically of all, the pilot's iPhone was not switched to flight mode during takeoff. It just goes to show you how powerful this technology is, even at 6,000 feet. So now that I knew the AirTag was sent to South Korea instead of North Korea, there were 2 things I needed to figure out. Why wasn't I receiving pings from the AirTag in South Korea? And why was it sent there in the first place? Well, after checking the South Korean Apple Store, I could see that AirTags are available for purchase. However, they only advertise precision finding as the key feature, and mention nothing about the Find My network. After further investigation, I found out that Apple's Find My network is not supported in South Korea. Some speculate it's due to South Korea's privacy laws, while others speculate it's due to their security laws. However, I couldn't find any concrete information on this. This basically meant that iPhones in South Korea couldn't communicate with my AirTag. Pretty interesting discovery, yet at the same time also a shame, because it meant my parcel was now untraceable. What's funny is...
Aber das ist ja auch ein bisschen komisch. Also wenn die iPhones abhängig davon... Gut, die Frage ist, orten südkoreanische iPhones sie nicht oder iPhones in Südkorea? Aber ja, ist natürlich ein bisschen witzlos, wenn man sagt, grundsätzlich sollen alle iPhones eigentlich dabei helfen, die AirTags zu finden, aber in Korea dann nicht.
The shipping status on DHL's website said that the parcel had arrived in the destination country. So I could only assume that this was clearly a mistake on DHL's behalf. At this point, I considered this parcel a lost cause. So I put my focus back to the original AirTag parcel, which was still stuck in Frankfurt Airport. 10 days had passed since I'd requested information from DHL about the investigation. And with no reply, I decided I had no choice but to give them a call. This was a nightmare. Despite offering an English customer service line, I was constantly being transferred to an agent who couldn't speak English. So I ended up having to ask my German friend Matthias to help out. When we called DHL, all the agent was able to tell us was that the investigation was still open. This completely contradicted their email, which concluded the parcel as being lost. So confusing. He also told us that it could take up to 6 weeks before we get the results of the investigation. We then asked the agent if there was an issue delivering parcels to North Korea. He assured us twice during the phone call that service to North Korea was fully operational. The DHL proving unhelpful once again, I decided to submit their refund request form, but I left all the refund information blank and wrote that I'd like to wait for the results of the investigation. Now here's where things get really suspicious. The very next day after submitting that form, I got an update from DHL informing me that the parcel was now being processed to the destination country. Coincidence? I think not. One could only speculate as to what happened here, but at this point I was fairly certain that no investigation ever took place, at least not until I submitted that refund form. My speculation is that DHL sends this refund form as a kind of cost efficiency test. If the value of your goods is low, they just pay you out, close the case, and no investigation is needed. If the costs are more significant, only then will they get a human involved to figure out where your parcel is. And with that 7-day deadline they try to impose on that refund form, it certainly seems as though they prefer paying out customers as opposed to carrying out the investigations. Now, I know that may sound completely illogical, but it's kind of like how big online retail giants have been caught throwing truckloads of returned goods away simply because they've calculated it's more cost efficient than restocking them. Keep in mind, the processing of parcels these days is highly automated. Not only that, but the volume of parcels which DHL has to deal with is insane, so humans likely only get involved as a last resort. Again, I'm only speculating here, but I can't help but think that if I had submitted that refund form properly and on time, DHL would have just paid me out and thrown my parcel away. But speculation aside, the good news was we finally had the parcel back on track and heading for North Korea. And this time, the parcel flew directly out of Frankfurt Airport and arrived in Beijing, China. This was really exciting because the majority of mail going into North Korea typically goes through China. It was starting to feel as though this project might actually work. After the parcel spent a few days in a facility in the city of Beijing, it was then transported to a facility in Beijing Airport. And it sat there with no activity for over a week. Then seemingly out of nowhere, the other North Korean parcel appeared in Beijing too. DHL finally figured out they had sent it to the wrong Korea and put it back on the right path. Good job, DHL. You figured that one out all by yourself. So with both AirTag parcels now in Beijing, I was starting to feel pretty happy with how things were progressing. But on the 10th of July, I got an update on the film commission parcel informing me that the shipment cannot be imported into the destination country. And of course, DHL offered no information as to why. So I knew I had to call them again. Luckily for me, this time I managed to get someone who spoke with me in English. He told me that either the parcel had been declined due to containing dangerous goods, or because the customs declaration form had fallen off the package. Now, neither of those reasons seemed likely to me. Highly frustrated with the response, I managed to find an email address for DHL in North Korea. So I wrote them an email asking if they were still receiving parcels into their country. To my surprise, I got a reply the very next day. Dear customer, thank you for your inquiry on our service operation. I'm sorry to inform you that we can't accept any inbound shipments from other countries into the DPRK because all international flights are suspended from China to the DPRK due to the government measures to prevent COVID-19 from other countries. We are not sure when international flights will be resumed right now. If we have any updated information on our service operation, I'll let you know ASAP. Honestly, I can't say I was surprised. But man, I literally...
Das ist natürlich schon sehr bitter. Also vor allem das irgendwie so dann offenbar nach Wochen oder Monaten zu erfahren und dass DHL das auf der eigenen Website nicht sagt. Oder zumindest sagt, wir wissen nicht, wann das zugestellt werden kann, ist natürlich schon ein Trauerspiel. Aber ich muss sagen, ich habe ja irgendwann im Frühjahr sollte ich ein Paket aus den USA bekommen. Zollabfertigung über DHL war die größte Vollkatastrophe. Und sie haben es am Ende nicht geschafft, obwohl ich 6 oder 7 Mal mit denen in Kontakt war, mir das zuzustellen. Und dann ging es zurück in die USA. Die haben das dann mit UPS geschickt, nochmal. Es war irgendwie 3 Tage später da.
Actually had 2 customer service agents at DHL assure me that shipping to North Korea was still possible. And to this date, DHL's website still shows a green light for shipping to North Korea. I mean, how does DHL not know their service to North Korea is suspended? Do their departments not communicate with one another? All that effort seemingly for nothing. Now, the day after receiving this email, I noticed that the parcel was making its way back to me in Germany. But right now I'm in Croatia, so I won't be there for when it gets delivered. Now, although the other parcel is still being processed in Beijing, I expect that it will receive a similar fate. Yeah, I'll come back to this, but for now, let's find out what happened to the parcel I sent to Elon Musk. Well, after the parcel arrived at SpaceX on the 25th of May, it chilled there for about 2.5 weeks. Then finally, on June 11th, it had been taken to a new address. It went to a metal scrapyard. The very next day, the AirTag sent its final ping in Castaic, California. RIP. I guess it went to a recycling facility or something. Now, I'm not disappointed with Elon Musk or SpaceX. I'm sure they get a ton of fan mail and, well, they can't reply to them all, so it's fine. But as for Tim Cook's AirTag, well, after the parcel arrived at Apple Park on May 24th, it sat there for almost 6 weeks doing nothing. Then, on the 3rd of July, I noticed that the AirTag had left Apple Park and had made its way to Cologne in Germany. That could only mean one thing: they had sent the AirTag back to me. The very next day, I got a knock on my door from FedEx, and I was reunited with my AirTag. It was so tempting to open the parcel, but I decided I wouldn't open it until I was ready to shoot this video. And now here we are, so let's open this bad boy and find out what's inside. Oh, I'm almost a little bit nervous.
Gut, dass Apple das nicht mit DHL geschickt hat, ne?
Oh, there is a letter inside. Oh, it's so exciting. Oh, look at that. Official Apple letter. That's crazy. What the hell? Okay, they definitely repackaged the AirTag as well, which is interesting. There she is. Oh, I'm like shaking. Honestly, I've had this parcel for 2 weeks, and finally, after sending this parcel, I don't know how far away it is, like 7,000 miles away. I'm overwhelmed with joy, honestly. There's the unicorn AirTag, back in my possession. This is sick. All right, the moment of truth, the letter. Let's see what they wrote to me. Okay. Okay, look at that, it's crazy. All right. Okay, so they wrote, "Dear Jonathan, thank you for sharing about your project for Apple AirTags. We're delighted to hear about creative uses for the AirTags and how they can improve our customers' lives. As you can imagine, Mr. Cook receives hundreds of letters each month from customers like yourself. Unfortunately, he is unable to respond to every request. But we hope you continue to enjoy your AirTag as it returns from its unique journey across the world. Sincerely, Administrative Assistant, Office of the CEO, Apple Incorporated.
Das ist ja schon einigermaßen beeindruckend, ne? Dass die auch einen wirklich persönlichen Brief noch geschrieben haben und sich überlegt haben, was sie dann irgendwie, wie sie am einfachsten aus der Geschichte wieder rauskommen. Das ist ja schon überraschend. Also die SpaceX-Nummer mit, das geht alles irgendwo in die Müllpresse, hätte ich jetzt auch für wahrscheinlicher gehalten.
Okay, so it wasn't a letter from Tim Cook himself, but hey, I have to give props to Apple here because, I mean, for them to actually go ahead and take the time to write me a letter and return the AirTag, I mean, that's pretty cool. And Apple, if you're watching this, thanks for being a good sport and returning the AirTag to me. Props on making a really cool product. I've had a lot of fun with it so far. Now, one last thing I want to mention about this letter is, I don't know much about paper, but it looks like a special paper of some kind. And I couldn't help but crack up when I saw that the edges are curved. Apple's all about the curved edges at the moment. I don't know, it's pretty funny. So that pretty much wraps up this little experiment. I'm really sorry I couldn't pull off sending an AirTag to North Korea. If anything interesting happens with the parcel that's still being processed in Beijing, I'll be sure to give regular updates on my Instagram, and of course also via YouTube community posts. Who knows, perhaps I'll retry again when North Korea's borders reopen. Oh, and DHL, if you're watching this, I want a refund on my 2 North Korean parcels. Also, if you want to clarify what happened to my parcel investigation, feel free to reply to the email I sent to you 40 days ago. I'll happily share your side of the story on this channel. Thanks again for watching. See you guys in the next one.
Sehr cooles Video, auch wenn das natürlich ein bisschen schade war, dass es am Ende nicht gereicht hat für ein Tracking von Nordkorea. Aber ja, sehr, sehr gut gemacht und offensichtlich funktioniert es ja auch ganz gut. Fast 3 Millionen Aufrufe. Der Kanal hat auch schon über 100.000 Abonnenten. Geht ganz gut ab.